Hey everyone, and welcome back to Politics Explains. Today, I'm diving into one of the world's trickiest geopolitical puzzles, the South China Sea dispute. It sounds complicated, but trust me, I'm going to make it make sense. This isn't just about a few scattered islands and rocks. There's a lot more at stake. Imagine a vast stretch of ocean, dotted with tiny islands, reefs, and sandbars. Now picture 6 different countries all saying, "Hey, that's mine." The main players: China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. Each of them believes certain patches of this sea rightfully belong to them, and they're not shy about it. So why do they care so much about this patch of ocean? It comes down to 3 big reasons. First, resources. Underneath these waters are believed to be major reserves of oil and natural gas. On top of that, the South China Sea is one of the richest fishing grounds on the planet. We're talking about food and jobs for millions of people. Second, trade and strategy. This sea is like a superhighway for global commerce. Trillions, yes, trillions of dollars worth of goods flow through these waters every year, linking Asia to Europe and everywhere else. If you control these shipping lanes, you hold serious economic and strategic power. Third, sovereignty and international law. Each country has its own historical stories and legal arguments, especially around an agreement called the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. That's the international rulebook for who gets what out at sea. Now let's zoom in on the biggest player, China. China claims nearly the whole South China Sea with what's called the 9-dash line. They say old records prove these waters have been theirs for centuries. Here's the problem. China's 9-dash line overlaps with areas that international law says belong to Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and Brunei, what's known as their exclusive economic zones, or EEZs. These countries say China's claim doesn't line up with UNCLOS. And China hasn't just drawn lines on a map. They've actually built artificial islands, turning reefs and sandbars into military outposts with runways and radar stations. That's raised the stakes, and the tension, big time. A key moment happened in 2016. The Philippines took China to an international tribunal in The Hague, pointing to the rules under UNCLOS. The court sided with the Philippines, saying China's 9-dash line has no legal basis. But China rejected the ruling, arguing the court didn't have jurisdiction. So, even though most countries recognize the verdict, the situation on the water hasn't changed. What about other big players? The United States doesn't claim any territory here, but it insists that international waters stay open for everyone. That's why the U.S. Navy sails through the South China Sea regularly, to show that no one country can shut it down. China calls this interference, but the U.S. calls it freedom of navigation. Meanwhile, Southeast Asian countries, especially those in ASEAN, are working hard to keep things from boiling over. But it's a tough balancing act. They need strong economic ties with China, but they also want to defend their own rights. So what's next? The South China Sea remains a global flashpoint. A single miscalculation could trigger serious conflict, which would ripple out worldwide. That's why so many people care about a few islands in a big sea. It's not just about dots on a map. It's about food, trade, national pride, and the future of how countries get along. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more.